It's another Happy Friday, and PM Personality Profile only makes your Friday worthwhile. My guest tonight, a finance executive with almost 30 years experience in the areas of management, finance, development, and operations in the precious metals industry, banking, and public finance. Former Deputy Finance Minister and currently Managing Partner and Founding Director of BVM Advisory. Good to see you.
Thank you, Aisha.
Auntie Mona. It's been a while. I mean, since you left the finance ministry, I haven't seen more of you. What have you been up to?
Well, Aisha, I've been busy. Of course, post being a Deputy Minister of Finance, you come into the limelight. So during the last 3.5 years, I've won some awards recognizing my leadership skills and also my leadership skills in the mining industry. I've also taken time off to spend a year doing a master's in law.
Oh, wow.
Which I graduated in 2018.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, University of Salford. So I now have an LLM as well.
Oh, nice.
Of course, it helps to bring together all the past experience, working on contracts and so forth. So that's some of the things I've been doing. I've also been in touch with a lot of my clients. As you know, I used to run a financial advisory firm. I went back to that. So that's a 20-year-old firm. And my clients are still in touch with me and me with them. So both locally and internationally, I've been working with my clients on treasury advisory and corporate finance advisory. Some of my clients are small and medium-sized enterprises, and I also try and support those as well.
Interesting. Let's start from a bit from the other side, not the usual way. Recently, you won some awards, or you were recognized, the influential women in emerging economy. That was in 2018.
That's right.
And also top women in mining, your favorite.
My
that
favorite.
was in 2019.
Definitely.
Tell me about
Yes,
it.
Aisha, in 2018, the award was really for leadership. And I'm glad that I've gotten to that age and stage in my life where I can be recognized for leadership.
Yeah.
And what is leadership about? It is about making sure that I can take the women who are coming behind me, because those ahead of me have already made it, but behind me into prosperity. So that is one of the big things for me. My recognition in mining was really cream on the cake for me because I've been in that industry for a long time, directly or indirectly. So I was really grateful to God for that recognition as one of the top women in the mining industry globally.
We're really proud of you.
Thank you.
Auntie Mona.
Thank you
But
so
beyond
much.
public life, now you're into real estate development. You also have your company, BVM.
Yes.
What exactly do you do?
So I have 2 companies that I own and manage. And I've been doing that since the year 2000. And 2000 because that's when I left Ashanti Goldfields and branched out into my own and went into private sector. The first one, the real estate company, Green Pastures and Still Waters, we buy old property and we redo them, we renovate them, fit for purpose. The purpose could either be offices or residential. So that's what we do. And we buy in key prime areas so that we can add value and then be able to rent out again or perhaps even sell at good rates. But so far we've just been doing rentals after we've renovated. With respect to BVM Financial Advisory Service, that's my core business. And that's where I offer treasury management services or advice, and I also offer corporate finance advice. That's in the area of assets management, liability management, people who want to raise funding and so forth. And I've been able to make or score some successes in that business. So those businesses have been around for 20 years on and off as I go into other things like into public sector, which I did from 2014 to 2016. Actually, that was my real first venture into the public sector, even though I'd offered services to them for many years. With Ashanti Goldfields, where I was for 10 years, it was a pseudo-government company.
Okay.
But if you recall, in '94, we listed on the stock exchanges, Ghana Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
And that made us become an international company, almost 1 million ounces of gold producer per annum. And that put us on the map in terms of the global map. So I have gained a lot of international experience in large companies, in the public sector, and on my own as well, driving private sector business.
You're doing quite well. And of course,
you.
the Ashanti Goldfield story, the vast experience you acquired from the
Yes.
EcoBank, all the other places. How did it all come about? Did you know from the word go that you were going to venture into finance and also into mining sector?
Asha, I think I knew from the get-go that I was going to be a manager of resources. Let me put it that way to start with.
Oh, wow.
A manager of resources. I am the first child and first daughter of my parents, so I've always been the leader and the manager, as
Definitely.
it were. So I've always done that. I've always been interested in what money can do. And therefore, my mother would tell you, I've been a big saver since I was a child. I will always have a big piggy bank, and I would put savings into that. My coins, my notes, whenever I was giving gifts, I would save. So that has been a big part of me. I'm not a big consumer. I'm very frugal when it comes to consumption, and I'm more into savings.
Okay.
I've always done that. And then at some point, I realized that I could save so much that I could even start lending money without a regulator, even as a teenager. So you find me lending money to my mom, to my aunties, to my siblings.
They never wondered where you got the money from.
They knew I was a big saver. And therefore, there were times when my grandmom, bless her heart, would even call me sometimes and say, I know you've been saving. Lend me 10 cedis or 20 cedis. And I could do that. So I've always been a go-to person in terms of resource management. Of course, my first love was managing money.
Yeah.
But as I went into university and I did my first degree in planning, development planning, it took me further into managing resources, planning resources. And when I came out, went to do an MBA finance and first joined the bank as a result of this love for managing assets and being able to manage liabilities as well, being able to lend. So that went on for a year, almost a year, until I joined Ashanti Goldfields. And I found out that, there was even something mightier than cash. We've always said cash is king. Found out that gold is queen as well, and that's even stronger. So my love for the metals and working with that metals was very important. And of course, that involved a lot of natural resource management. It expanded my experience in managing resources, how you produce, how you get it out of the ground, how you sell it, and what you do with that money in terms of reinvestments, growing the business. And that was a large company. That was, at some point, Ghana's largest company.
Ashanti Goldfields,
yes. So yes, my love for managing resources started very early in my life.
Of course, you were exposed very early, and that also did not prevent you from excelling, because you see some kids, it gets into their head and they don't want to learn or attain higher heights. But for you, it was a different story. Would you say that you are who you are today because of your parents' affluence, or because your parents were affluent?
Yes, to a large extent, I'll say I am who I am today because of who my parents were. First of all, my father was a public servant, and therefore he was not wealthy. And he came from a poor family. His father was a headmaster. His mother was a housewife. So he didn't come from a rich family. It was a big family. However, my mother, who is more of an extrovert, she came from a wealthy family. Her father was Indian, and he had a bakery and other businesses. And so she was used to wealth. She was used to generating wealth and enjoying it as well. And in fact, it is my mother who is the politician, who made us all become politicians, me and my siblings. So she's had that political influence on us. She very early joined the 31st December movement, women's movement. She was very much part of all that. At one time, she was the executive secretary of the National Council for Women and Development, which later became a ministry. At the time, the chairperson was Dr. Mrs. Mary Grant. Subsequently, she became the chairperson of the council.
Oh, wow.
So my mother has been very much into the women's space and in the political space or governance, ensuring that women are sitting at the table of governance. So I knew about that right from my youth. And combining it with my love for managing, which I think I got from my father, I've been able to put that together. And eventually I did work in the public sector, albeit for 2 years, but I think that was a great 2 years when we set Ghana on the right footing and made sure that we consolidated fiscal or economic stabilization gains.
How was growing up like with such parents? I mean, if your mom was a politician, it means, hey, you're a big girl.
Yes, well, before my mom became a politician, she worked. She worked in a jewelry shop, you know, and that's not surprising. She liked jewelry. Like I said, she came from a wealthy family. Her father was Indian. She understood what gold, the value of gold. She worked in a jewelry shop for a long time, and it was after that that she went into politics. And when she went into politics, she went in almost, I would say, like the Buddha. She had seen it all, done it all. And it was now time to give of herself. So in politics, she was not about wealth anymore. She was more about helping other people, and it was directly to women. It was more about raising the issues of women. So she was part of the team who went together with the First Lady at the time to Beijing. And they put forward Ghana's case. They learned from that conference. They came back, they implemented some of those things. And they've helped women in many ways, moving them from being subservient, being just in the background, not having enough capital to do any real work, to becoming women who could take care of their families and be in the forefront.
So that's for your mom. Your dad was a sports person and he worked at the university. How was growing up like, I mean, with such a dad?
Well, growing up with such a dad taught me discipline, because sportsmen are very disciplined people. Taught me time management and taught me how to be humble and to keep my head on the ground and to be methodical in the way that I do things. And that helped me a lot. You know, my dad was the grounding factor. My mom was more the one who would go out to help or step out. My father was more, even though he was a sportsman, he was sort of quiet, on the quiet side. So the combination of both has been really great for me. I've known when to be silent and when to step out there and do what I must do. And I'm glad that that kicks in each time that I am needed.
And having such parents means you couldn't bring the standards lower.
No way.
Did that influence your perseverance to just be there?
Indeed, it did. I know that people always say, oh, parents put a lot of pressure on you and so forth. I find that the pressure my parents put on me, looking back, and hindsight is 2020, I find that it was fabulous, it was necessary, and that is what has gotten me to where I am. Because without that, most likely I would have slacked along the way. But the pressure that they put, which was perfect pressure, made sure that I got to where I must get to. Made sure that I went through my O-levels, A-levels, university, masters, and even recently to do a second master's in law. So my mom and my dad have really kept me on my toes, and I am grateful for that.
Let's get into where it all started. Primary at the University of Ghana, primary school. Then to Achimota.
That's right.
Then to KNUST. How was it like?
Actually, between Achimota and KNUST was Laboni Secondary School. That's where I did my A-levels, my sixth form. And I actually really enjoyed that time there. I made a lot of new friends outside the Achimota school circle. So I got to know other people, and it was really a brilliant time. I always want to thank the teachers of Laboni Secondary School. They really helped us to focus on passing our A-levels. I think that in all the exams I've ever taken in my life, the A-level exam was the most difficult.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that is what I believe looking back. So yes, through that into KNUST, again, left Accra, where I'd always lived, to Kumasi, met another group of people. So I was getting to know Ghana,
More people.
and that was really great for me. I enjoyed my 5 years in KNUST doing the planning course. And I remember that I wrote my thesis on water supply. I looked at the correlation between water supply and pricing for water. That's again managing a resource, discussions about managing a resource. So I really see myself as a natural resource manager. Post that, I've worked at Ashanti, as we've already discussed. I've worked in the ministry. And like I said, recently I did a master's in law, and it was to do with oil and gas.
Oh, wow.
The oil and gas industry.
Oh,
my
wow.
paper or my dissertation was to look at the petroleum draft agreement, the Ghana Petroleum Agreement. This is the template that we negotiate and sign with all the partners that come into the oil and gas space. And that again took me into another part of natural resource management, and I thoroughly enjoyed researching and writing that paper. And I had a good score on that and graduated 2018 June from that program.
Congratulations.
Thank
You say you've stayed in Osu all your life.
Most of
you
my life.
love the place.
Yes.
Both parents, okay, you say
So,
you're Ga.
Yes, I am Ga. So from childhood, actually I was born in Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Okay.
My grandparents lived in Kolegono and in Osu proper. But my parents, who were young and newly married, they moved around a lot because my father taught in many teaching schools.
Yeah.
So he was in Sunyani, and that's where my brother was born. We also lived in Peki. I enjoyed being in Peki. And then back to Accra, and we lived in Legon for a long time before we moved into this area, which is the Ringway Estates area.
Okay.
And since then, which is I think since I was about 7 or 8, we've lived in the area, Osu, Ringway Estates, Laboni, for the longest time.
Okay. And how was it like? I mean, Osu now is a very busy place. How was it then? I mean, during your days?
So when I was a child and we lived in these parts of Accra, at the time, and I think so still today, Accra was a very safe place. The Osu Laboni Ringway area was a very safe place. A lot of civil servants or public servants had their children living here, or they themselves were living here, let me put it that way. And therefore, we spent a lot of time making friends, being on the streets. We were not exactly street children, but we spent time outdoor.
Yeah.
Unlike the children today who spend most time indoor on their computers, on their iPads, we were outdoor children. So we had a lot of fun. We made friends. We ventured out and made friends with people a little outside our area and so forth. And that network has stayed with us forever. I mean, I continue to enjoy that network. Sometimes I'm surprised when I see people that I knew when I was a teenager, and we can catch up all over again. So I had a wonderful experience as a child who lived in an urban area with parents who could afford to make sure that I had a good education, I had my basic needs, and I was a happy child.
Helena Quartey is still my guest tonight on PM Personality Profile, and I'm enjoying the conversation already. When I returned from that break, a beautiful woman doing well for herself at that time, what motivated her to venture into politics? A game they describe as dirty. What motivated her? We'll find out when we return from this break shortly. Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. Before I went on that break, I told you we'll be finding out from Auntie Mona what motivated her. She was a mining person. She was into mining, she was into money, finances, and all of that. She was doing so well. You started with EcoBank.
That's right.
Then you ended up at Ashanti Goldfields. In fact, that was your love, but you didn't get it at first. So finally you got it.
Yes.
So you were doing extremely well.
Yes.
At what point did you take that decision to become a politician?
So, Aisha, I continued to do well in my profession. I served on a number of boards I was serving on the Simnet board. The Simnet company is a company that was partially owned by SNIT and another IT company who were offering service to the Department of National Lotteries. I served on their board. I also served on the board of Golden Star Resources, who own the Prestia mines and the Wassa mines. So from 2012, I was serving on those boards. Of course, recently, I was nominated in 2017 onto the international board in Canada. So that for me was also another achievement. So I serve on that board as well. Again, I was taking care of my private sector customers who were doing well. And I don't want to mention names because of confidentiality, but I saw my customers do well. And for me, that was a major benefit, apart from, of course, charging them for it, but seeing them do well, it lends to your reputation and to your credibility. So I continued to be busy post Ashanti through BVM advisory, and also started to have a love for real estate because I realized that in Ghana, your best investment really is in property, in real estate. Real estate always appreciates. It's only during the COVID time that we had a bit of a dip, but in general, properties, landed properties always appreciate in value. Again, landed properties always are your collateral or your securitization for funding, which sometimes you need to grow your business. So those two things, the advisory service and the property business, was something that I was really focused on, and I was doing very well, and I enjoyed that very much. It was around that time that I got the offer to come into public service for 2 years, as it were. But otherwise, I'd always been a politician, and I know you want me to talk about my political part. So right from KNUST, if you recall, the 81, we did have a new government that came in by coup, but yes, we were in school in 82, which was my first year, and there was a big aluta on campus. So we were sent home, and were sent home for almost a year. During that time, I became even more interested in politics. I had started to be interested in politics from 79, when we had the revolution. You know, that's a big change. Revolutionizing the way Ghana was to be managed. We went back into democratic rule, and then again there was that second coup where I was now in university, came home. It made me focus more and look at what exactly is Ghana trying to achieve as a country. Where does she want to go? She wants to grow. She has her natural resources. First and foremost, her people. What are we doing for our people since colonial days? I was never part of colonial days. I was born well after colonial days. So I started asking older people about those times and now, and realized that if we had our destiny in our own hands, then we had to sit up. We needed education first, we needed experience to be able to action the things we wanted to see for Ghana. Where do we want to see Ghana go? There had been few setbacks along the way, but I was ready to be part of the team that would take Ghana to its really glorious space or place that it should be. So if you recall, at that time, we had found oil and gas in addition to our gold. Remittances have always been a big part of our inflows into this nation, which tells you about how Ghanaians feel about Ghana. Even when they go abroad, they make sure they send money home.
Very important.
So, remittances, gold, cocoa, and now oil and gas. And there was no way I couldn't be part of that experience, that growth for Ghana. I had to be part of it. And therefore, I became part of that. And, you know, as much as we don't like dirty politics, we do like clean politics. And it is a way for women to sit at the table, to be at the city gate, to be able to participate in governance and make sure that policies that grow the nation also grow women and grow children. And that is where I came to. That is my line of coming into the economy, to make sure that we could grow the economy, to benefit not only men, but benefit women, children, and the nation itself.
You certainly went through some challenges, some obstacles that would ordinarily prevent you from climbing the ladder, because you speak for the many women, and that story we keep on telling and fighting for women to get up there. What were those obstacles?
Yes, Aisha, you are so right. Sometimes I forget about that, and I'm glad you reminded me. I did come into mainly male-dominated part of industry or part of the economy. And I guess as I ventured in, I didn't think twice because I was born into a family of three, two boys. Of course, when I was 20, I got a younger sister. But before then, it was just me and my brothers. And I must say that it made me not fearful of men. My father also always promoted me and always said, you're stronger than men. You can do more than men. And my mom, too, was someone who encouraged women to do well. So I didn't have a problem venturing into male-dominated area. I was comfortable doing that. I must say that there were challenges along the way. I met those challenges.
Okay.
Some of the challenges I met along the way were, one, sexism, meaning you being a female. I mean, whilst I wasn't thinking about that, you know, I was just thinking I was a person.
Yeah.
There were men who were looking at me and seeing a female and seeing a girl, actually. So they were like, what are you doing here? I remember that the first one that hit me was about going underground. And the miners at the time had a superstition about women going underground. So the underground miners were a little like, why is this woman having to go down? But I had to go down because I was taking down potential investors and potential lenders, and they had to see the operations. And I had to speak to them on how, you know, they would give us money to grow the company, how I would repay them.
Definitely.
So I had to be the one to go down. Of course, I had male colleagues, and sometimes would go down together. But the miners were worried about me going underground. And it took time to let them know that it didn't matter at all. And in fact, the flashback from that is that I went down and nothing bad happened anyway. Instead,
so you broke that ice.
Exactly, we broke that ceiling, that ice. And Ashanti continued to grow from strength to strength. We produced more. And with time, the union and the non-unionized miners were people who I could relate to. We were friends. There was no longer the issue of male and female. Again, in the banking sector, I would meet situations like that where people would feel that, oh, a female account officer, will you be around for a long time? Are you going to be off and on? Does someone control you? Does someone control you? Meaning, does your husband tell you what you should do? You could also get pregnant, and why not? You should get pregnant, otherwise they won't be born. So there was some of those as well. There was also where some men actually think that by they being men, they are superior. A superiority complex, and therefore thinking that you most likely are inferior. You are only fit to do certain things, and other areas are there preserved. It was difficult to break through those, but we were able to break through some of that. I mean, up until now, there are still times when a conversation is being had, and it's like, oh, Mona can do the soft part, we will do the hard part, forgetting that Mona can equally do the hard part. So I think it's about proving ourselves. We've proved ourselves enough in Ghana. We've shown that women indeed can do what men can do, and sometimes even better. Sometimes. But more importantly, Aisha, is that we can do best together. So I've always pushed the fact that we must work together. No one gender should look down on the other. Let's look to each other to get a wholesome best. And whenever we've had that formula, it's been great for Ghana.
Was there a moment whilst Deputy Minister that you were down? I mean, because of course, being a politician, people would talk about you, especially if something goes wrong. I mean, people would say all kind of things. Was there a moment you felt that, oh my goodness, I regret ever being a politician?
Aisha, I don't regret being a politician. I do know that life is full of ups and downs, and that you will have good moments and bad moments, and therefore you take them all as one. But yes, there have been times when as a human being I have felt bad. I made the mistake one day of reading an article on Ghana Web which talked about an event that I had participated in as Deputy Minister of Finance. And it was a good article. And I liked the way it was put together. I made the mistake of reading the first comment underneath. And I do remember that my co-deputy, Ato, had always cautioned me, don't read the comments, stay with the articles. But I was curious, and I read the first comment. And the first one was, who is this to? Who does she think she is? She has no education, and all that she has done is be a bank teller.
That was too
And I was surprised, and I was hurt.
Yes.
So I came home, I mentioned it to my husband and to my mom, and they laughed. And I asked, why do you laugh? This made me sad. And they said, but you've never been a bank teller, one, and there's nothing wrong with being a bank teller. And number two, this only tells about the person who made the comments. The person doesn't know you. The person doesn't know you at all.
Yeah.
They don't know what schools you went to. They don't know what work you've done. They don't know your contribution to society and to the nation, even whilst you were at Ashanti and when you were even abroad, and what you do today. If they took the time to know you, they'd realize that you are an asset to this nation and even to their growth.
Yeah.
But remember that comments are just thrown around. So then I learned not to let comments get to me and to appreciate that it's not everyone who would like you. Some people will like you, some people won't, but it doesn't matter. Those who don't like you, if they would bother to give you constructive criticism, you'll be able to grow on that. But that was a sharp experience, I would say, and I did learn from it.
And made you stronger.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
But of course, there's also there are a lot of women still struggling to climb up the ladder. And like I mentioned earlier, we have only just 36 women in Parliament out of the 275. I know you don't feel good about it, but what, from where you sit, do you think is accounting for this delay? Because at some point, women are giving a certain quota.
That's right.
The political parties give women but we're still not meeting it. What really is the problem?
With the time that I've spent with women, one of the big problems that I've noticed, and we just referred to it, is women not having enough support so that they can venture out into the jungle of politics. Because it's not an easy arena to play in. It needs a lot of time, dedication, and much of yourself, your time and your effort, a lot of effort from you, which means that you will be away from home a lot of times. You'll be away from your children, your husband, and so forth. In the past, women have been the ones who've kept home. So for them to leave is almost like an anomaly.
Yes.
So therefore, women who must go out to fill the quotas that you've referred to must have a strong backing and must be given that safety space, knowing that they can go there and be safe. And they must also be given that, that push, almost, because it's not what we've always done.
Yes.
So they need someone to motivate them. I think that over time we are finding a lot of women venturing into business, becoming very competent business women. So they are generating wealth, they are generating confidence, and then a little later on in life when they've had their children, they can venture into politics very strong. I'm not saying young ones too can do it, but you go into politics already made as a mother, as a daughter, as a wife, as a woman. And therefore, whilst, for example, in Parliament, you don't get calls, oh, come home, this has to be done, and so forth. Whilst you are in ministerial position, you don't do that. Whilst you head a big government organization or institution, you don't get pulled back into your old role, but you are supported to do well in the role that you've gone into. So the challenges are still there, but I think if we support each other, as I've said earlier, and if our men could also support us, then we could do very well. But I believe that it is important that women establish themselves before going into politics. And I say this from experience. If I had gone to politics any earlier than I went into, I may have shone a little and then faded out.
Yeah.
But because I went in strong, confident, already made, I could take a lot of the rebuttals, I could take a lot of the blows, and I could take a lot of the hardship and give of my time and my effort and myself to that service.
Mona Quartey is a beautiful woman, no two ways about it. What goes into that beauty? what does she spend to keep that beauty? By the way, she looks very healthy. How does she keep fit? We'll talk about her hobbies, and also what does the Mukasa Foundation do? We'll look at all of that when we return from this break. Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. My guest, Helena Quartey, former Deputy Finance Minister. She's been sharing her story with us and also inspiring us with her experiences throughout climbing that ladder. Well, there's some good news out there. At least we have some strong women climbing up the ladder now. We have Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, who is running mate to the NDC flag bearer. We have Bridget JoyNews, who is with PPP. And even if you look across Ghana or I mean internationally, Kamala Harris is also there supporting Joe Biden.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. And also recently, what's her name? Nana Ajantua heading for General Secretary for the CPP. I mean,
yes.
I mean, for the history of this country, I haven't seen a woman. So some good news out there. How do you feel about this? All of this?
I think that the 2020 election is going to be very exciting because we are going to see a lot of women vying for good positions. So like you said, we have Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman coming up as running mate for the flag bearer of the NDC, which is really nice. This is a strong woman, academically strong, and a woman of peace.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing her do greater things. We also have Miss Bridget JoyNews vying as flag bearer for PPP, and that is so great. I mean, that's just blazing the trail for women to do that. We have for a second or third time our former First Lady, Nana Konadu Rawlings, also standing on the NDP ticket as flag bearer. And we now see women climbing even within the party politics. So I'm glad you mentioned Nana Ajantua becoming the first General Secretary of CPP, which is one of our old parties. And that is great. I was watching her on TV recently articulating some of her thoughts, and I thought this is really the kind of people we need, the people who can become the king and queen makers.
Yes.
So having them in that position is also critical.
Yeah.
You know, so that is great. It also sends a signal to some of our young ladies that they can become high up there in the hierarchy of the party politics. When we look abroad and we see in the US Kamala Harris being the running mate for the Democratic flag bearer to Joe Biden, again, that tells us that it's not even about old age, but it's about experience.
Yes.
So gaining that experience and being there, and Kamala is in her early 50s or so, if I'm right, and a lawyer, an accomplished lawyer, and she's done well for herself. She stands strong behind Joe Biden. There's no doubt that, like Professor Nana Jane, she's a strong woman in her own right and can take over presidency at any time.
Yeah.
So we are glad to see that happen there too. In the UK, we've seen many strong women leaders. In Europe, we continue to see. And Aisha, wasn't it interesting that during this COVID time, the nations that were led by women did really well in managing that situation?
Was one of them.
It was great. I mean, it was fabulous to see that. I'm also proud of Ghana, of course, for being one of the nations that made sure that we were safe, that the nation was safe. We could have done even better, but yet we did good, and I'm glad for that. So there's no doubt that the woman's role in leadership, in governance, in caring for people is supreme.
I'm happy
There's
you
no
spoke.
doubt about that.
I'm happy you spoke about the fact that women need support from the men, but the women need to build themselves up.
Indeed.
And so then they can get the support. Let's talk about women and poverty. Yes. Recently, we've heard about some old women being tortured. One of them died. All of them accused of witchcraft and all of that. I relate this to poverty. How do you feel about all of this? How do we take or eradicate poverty, especially, and empower the woman?
So we've talked about me being a businesswoman, and that has really helped me to be self-sufficient financially, and therefore confident.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to beg anyone for anything. I hold my own.
Yeah.
And many other women in Ghana. In fact, Ghana is a nation where a lot of women have been businesswomen and have done very well financially for themselves, but they've sort of kept in the back and supported. Right from 57, from independence, CPP women and so forth, who have been financiers but were not in the front line, and we know about some of them. So we continue to be women who are able to generate wealth, but we don't come to the front. And on the flip side, we still have a larger proportion of women who are very, very poor, just like the rest of the world. And as a politician or as a Deputy Minister of Finance, as I went out, I got to know and see more women at grassroots level who were poor. And I was surprised because looking just at the urban areas, I thought, oh, most women are doing well. They are selling, they are moving goods, they are doing that, or they're offering services, whether for hair, for sewing and all that. But I found women who don't have that access at all. And therefore, they are very, very poor. Some of them are farmers, but they don't own the lands. So they don't make much from what they do. So looking at that, and with my philosophy of growth, together with my mom and other ladies, Madame Sherry Aite, we formed the Mukasa Women Foundation, which is built on 3 pillars. Health, because we believe that a woman must be healthy to be able to do well. 2, education. A woman must have education to be able to know, to empower herself, to be strong enough to compete. And then must have some wealth, some finances to be able to do the things she wants to do. So with these 3 pillars, a woman becomes empowered and can then step forward. So when we look at poverty, there are many ranges of poverty. There's urban poverty, where people in the urban areas, the Kayaye, people who've left their home security and come into the urban area, the jungle. And they are poor to start with. And sometimes you can be poor forever in that area because you will have children in that same space and it becomes more and more difficult. Then we have women who are absolutely poor wherever they are in the community. And those women are treated badly. Those women are labeled all sorts. They are witches, they are this. Any bad thing that happens in a community, it is their fault.
Which is bad.
Sometimes we even hear of men who say, oh, I'm going to marry again because my first wife is bad luck. Excuse me, how is your first wife bad luck? You know, you think your luck will change just by marrying? So there's a lot of that goes around. And women, hence, are treated very badly. We heard of the recent situation where women were labeled witches, and to think that we even built a witch camp. And I know that at the time that those witch camps were built, they were built to protect the women, to take them out of community. But Aisha, today we know that taking people out of the community into a camp where they live on their own actually perpetuates that label.
And it deepens
that
kind of
that
belief.
perception of the woman being a witch. The woman needs to be within community and contribute her quota. If she is not well, if she's elderly, you can have an elderly home. There are hospitals. But to take a woman out of community because she's a witch is a no-no. Therefore, my role as an agent of change is to move women from poverty to prosperity. How do we do this? We must look at the growth drivers. What are the things women can do to quickly get there? Some of it is technical assistance, and therefore we, as people who have that, should go down and give it to them.
Auntie Mona, you are very beautiful.
Thank you.
I know Mr. Quartey has told you, and many other people have told you that. What really goes into this beauty?
Actually, I think it's more of radiating from the inside. And for us women, it's a strengthening our core, believing in who we are, and staying healthy. So what is staying healthy? Eating the right things, avoiding fast food, eating the greens, the locally produced vegetables that we have, which are far more superior to anything we import. That we eat well, that we eat at the right time. We take care of our skin. Our skin is our largest organ,
Yeah.
that we make sure we take care of it, that we ensure that we clean our skin with cleansing agents that are mild and gentle.
Yeah.
And of course, ladies, if at any time you find that there is any blemish that you don't like or there's a problem, I would advise you to go quickly to see your dermatologist. Go to the skin clinic and get it checked out. Because the skin, I have found, is one that tells a big story.
Okay.
It tells whether you are happy or not. It tells whether you are eating well or not. It even tells when a disease has begun.
Yeah.
It can be cancer, it can be HIV, HPV, any of those. Your skin will immediately start to send the signals. So take care of your skin. Let's not use harsh creams. Let's not try to bleach. I do a lot of swimming. I've always swum since I was a child. And as an adult, I'm finding that to be a very useful exercise. You don't carry too much weight as you swim, but you burn a lot. And also, it helps the mind to calm down and the body itself to remain calm. So I'm hardly ever ill. I hardly go to the hospital. And I swim at least 2 or 3 times a week. So that's one of the things that I do, and I enjoy that very much.
Should I change into my bikini so we go do some swimming?
Not today.
But I see some beautiful gardening over there, and I see that a lot of work has gone in there. You have beautiful flowers, different roses, and I know they tell a story.
So first of all, I have a lot of bougainvilleas.
And I think you should take me there to tell
Indeed,
me
I
that
shall.
story. So you have a very beautiful garden, a big one. I think a lot of work goes in here.
Yes, a lot of labor of love goes in here, but we enjoy it so much, Aisha. You can see how the plants are growing towards the sun. You can see how some of the roots are curling up, which is really nice to see. For me, when I see this nature and I see the way it's growing, I then believe indeed there is a God.
There is.
It confirms it. So we have the orchids on this side all the way down, and then behind us we have some more orchids, and of course we always need some palm trees for shade.
Okay.
On our right side we have this big crazy bougainvillea who I love so much. I actually call this my little grotto, and eventually I'm Catholic. I didn't tell you that before, but I'll have Our Lady positioned here. So the bougainvillea in 2 different colors, and I have some bamboo to remind me of the greenness of life and how bamboos spend a lot of time in the roots, but when they come out, they grow very fast.
Wow.
So almost on a weekly basis, we are trimming this bamboo. We also have the anthuriums here, different colors of anthuriums, red, pink and white, and a few white orchids in there. But this is my anthurium section.
This is beautiful.
Yes. We have more orchids here. I have more orchids than any other plant.
Okay.
These are my orange ladies. I absolutely love them. When I sit in my porch and I look at them, they make me happy.
Oh,
So
wow.
that is my happy place.
I can imagine when the sun is down and the whole place is calm and serene,
That's right.
how you can enjoy this garden.
We do enjoy the garden very much.
I love it. I love it. So, viewers will be going in to do the piano. She's a master. What?
No, I'm a learner pianist and I can play some happy songs for myself. Yes.
Okay, so let's go and get happy together. Why not sing along, or it will confuse you? That was wonderful. Thank you very much, Auntie Mona, for serving us that thought-provoking conversation. Thank you so much for watching us. Same time next week, God willing, we'll be bringing you another fantastic personality on PM Personality Profile. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of your evening.